I might live to regret this video. Today we're delving into the thorny issue of what to call the place I live, inhabited by Czech people. Why is this issue thorny? Because it's the land of Czech people, and they're an argumentative bunch. One of my longtime viewers even threatened to unsubscribe because I used the name Czechia in one of my videos. He threatens to unsubscribe every week. He'll be back. Other viewers tell me it sounds ridiculous when I say the name the Czech Republic 25 times in every video. It's too formal, too clumsy, too wordy. So in this video, we're going to dive into that issue, cautiously, so that you, my English-speaking viewers, will learn what to call this nation. Let's get started. You might have heard of a little country in the center of Europe whose capital city is Prague. And no, I'm not talking about Czechoslovakia, because that country has ceased to exist for over 30 years. Maybe we should get a map. Even though your boomer parents still call this country Czechoslovakia, Czechoslovakia no longer exists. In 1993, after the fall of communism, it went through an amicable split called the Velvet Divorce, and each side took half the name and half the furniture. The next step to being internationally recognized independent states was to register their new names with the United Nations. On the application, they had to give their long political names and their short geographic names, so other English-speaking countries would know what to call them. Hello, everyone. I am the Czech Republic, but you can call me Slovakia. Welcome, Slovakia. I am the Federalist Republic of Germany, but you can call me Germany. This is the French Republic. Oui, oui. Hello. France. And the United States of Mexico? Mexico. Ay, but you can call me Mexico. Good, good. Now, Slovakia. Who is your friend? I am the Czech Republic. Good, good. And what is your short name? You may call me the Czech Republic. So, you go home and decide and fill in this form. Return when you decide on your short name. And what about the flag? Ani nehovor. So the Czechs took the application form back to the úřad where it was promptly misfiled. No, a co? Mám toho hrozně moc. After a couple of years, the United Nations gave up waiting and simply wrote in the Czech Republic as the country's short name. Although short, it definitely was not. So for the following 3 decades, this country referred to itself only as the Czech Republic. The name was printed in textbooks, taught to children, and the Czech people became very accustomed to it. The problem was, the English-speaking world kept making mistakes with this long name. The Czech Republic was a bit awkward when talking about culture or travel or sports. Germany! 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 Mexico! 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 Czech Republic! The Czech Republic! Yes, the Czech Republic! Yes! Go! Go! Because the name was a bit long and awkward, the boomers just kept calling it Czechoslovakia. The kids wanted something shorter and catchier, so they started calling it Czech, which isn't even a name, it's an adjective. It's like saying Paris is the capital of French. Even the Czech government didn't always get it right, and they referred to it as CR on government websites. CR is the official country code for Costa Rica. If this is Costa Rica, somebody better tell me where they've been hiding the beach. All this became confusing and terribly bad for branding the new country in the eyes of the English-speaking world. And the truth is, even though the Republic was new, the nation certainly was not. For over a century, the Czechs had been sending their very best representatives to the English-speaking world.
They sent beer and shoes and cars, diplomats, contact lenses, directors. tennis players, supermodels, hockey players, footballers, and skiing superstars. And still, the English-speaking world didn't know what to call the country they came from. But you can kind of see why.
So in 2016, the Czech government, realizing it had a marketing problem, changed the official short name to Czechia. Cože? Czechia? Czech people did not like this name, and they thought it was some newfangled invention. But the name didn't come out of nowhere. The name Czechia had actually been used hundreds of years ago to refer to the region of Bohemia. And for decades, in the middle of the 20th century, American newspapers had used the word Czechia to refer to not only Bohemia, but Moravia and Silesia as well, basically the entire Czech Republic. After the Velvet Divorce in 1993, 55 esteemed linguists got together and all agreed that Czechia was the proper and appropriate translation of Česko, which is the Czech word for this region. Still, this didn't go over well with the Czech people. They didn't want to drop the Republic from their name. They were proud that they were finally and once again a free republic with democratically elected leaders. I am a republic.
We know.
So
are we.
The thing is that most republics don't go around insisting that other people call them republics. But some totalitarian regimes do, like the Central African Republic and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Yeah, I hear it's real democratic up in Pyongyang. One of the arguments against the word Czechia is the belief that English speakers won't pronounce it properly. It is one slip of the tongue away from Chechnya. Ah yes, Chechnya. Czech people are a little sensitive about this. After 2 Chechnyan Americans bombed the Boston Marathon in 2013, there was some confusion over where exactly Chechnya was on a map. And the idiots on Twitter, who couldn't be bothered to Google Chechnya, thought that Chechnya was the same as Czech Republic. One confused commentator on CNN even made this mistake in a live broadcast. Czech people are not terrorists. They're not. But before you get too excited, let me tell you a little bit about the American media. Number 1, Twitter is full of stupid people. Number 2, Americans are not so great with European geography. We've got 50 states to memorize. Most Americans couldn't put Kansas on a map. And 3, who cares? It's fake news. They shouldn't have to defend their country against people who can't find it on a map. Now, one thing that some opponents of the term Czechia say is that it doesn't include Moravia and Silesia. Proponents of Czechia say that the term Čechy refers to Bohemia, while Czechia refers to the entire region, Bohemia, Moravia, and Silesia. It's honestly hard for me to have an opinion here because it's a linguistic debate. And I can barely say that was not bad. But from my native English-speaking perspective, I don't see how the Czech Republic represents Moravia and Silesia any more than the term Czechia. All the Republic does is tell us what kind of government they have. Now that the short name Czechia is officially registered with the United Nations, it's really confusing to us English speakers because some of the Czechs and even the Prime Minister doesn't use it, and they correct us when we use it. This name debate has a long, confusing history that, frankly, I barely understand. English speakers just want to know what to call your country when they're booking an airline ticket to come visit and when they're cheering for you at international sporting events. We don't have any attention span for history. When a Czech viewer reached out to me and asked me to look into this issue, I thought for sure I would end up saying, only Czech Republic, I will never call it Czechia. When I took a poll on Instagram what my viewers prefer, 328 of them said they preferred Czech Republic and only 38 said Czechia. But then I asked the viewers on YouTube to explain their answers. And that's where it got more interesting. The most common response to those who favored Czech Republic is that they were taught it and they're used to it. They like the sound of it. Others said they were from Moravia or Silesia, and they didn't feel that the term Czechia represented their region. And who am I to tell them they're wrong? Others from Moravia and Silesia said they preferred Czechia. But I found many more commenters in favor of the term Czechia than I imagined I would find. And they had some really persuasive arguments.
Vladimir says that Czechia is timeless and that Czech Republic ignores the historical continuity of the state. And Domihork said that because the Czech Republic practically cuts us off from more than 1,000 years of our history. Gosudar said, not using the many hundred-year-old name of one's own state just because an ignorant person could confuse it with the name of a Russian province is a prime example of a lack of national self-confidence.
If there's one thing I've learned since moving to the Czech Republic, it's that Czech people have a lot of opinions. So I hope you'll add yours below. And since you watch this channel for an American's opinion on Czech culture, here's mine. I was really won over by the arguments in favor of using the short name Czechia. In the future, when I speak about the government or international affairs, I'll use the term the Czech Republic. Hello, I am the Czech Republic. How do you do? But I'm gonna try to start using Czechia when I'm speaking about sports or culture or history when it feels more appropriate. Hi, I am Czechia. I've been using the Czech Republic for 8 years, so it's gonna be hard for me to change too. I'm definitely gonna start using it with my family and friends back in the United States because they really need some instruction. Perhaps, with time, everybody will get used to it, just like they got used to Czechoslovakia. I think the name suits them. So the question becomes, how do we publicize Czechia to the outside world? Well, it's already spreading. Google uses it, Apple Maps uses it, the CIA Fact Book, the US Department of State, and Oxford Atlas of the World. They all use Czechia. And the more that the Czech government and the Czech boards of tourism use it, the more popular it will become with foreigners. Maybe they could even sponsor some YouTube channel whose goal was to educate the English-speaking world all about their country. You mean like Honest Guide? Yes, velký respect. But he calls it Czech Republic. Phew, I hope I got that video right. And I hope it puts an end to the commenters down below who tell me I can only call it Czechia or only call it the Czech Republic. I'm doing the best I can. Tak jo, uvidíme se příští týden. Ciao.